Well, folks, I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine has been, for the most part, getting good, fan feedback. The box office looks good, but that film just dropped and it was quickly steamrolled, overshadowed by the recent announcement of Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU, not as Tony Stark, but as Victor Von Doom, aka Doctor Doom. And people had their thoughts about the Avengers 5 Doomsday. It Let me put it this way. If you watched any of my previous videos, I think a few months ago, Robert Downey Jr. did a interview with Variety or one of these, big magazine or, interview outlets. And he talked about how post Oscar win, he was open to returning to the MCU, which is a stark, pun intended, contrast to what he said prior to Oppenheimer about, wanting to be done with that particular role and, not really wanting to talk about the MCU in his interviews, to focus on the projects he's working on, currently at that time. But the thing is, I said back then, I'm like, yeah, I think the MCU needs Robert more than Robert needs the MCU. The dude has way more than enough money to not for his kids, not even to, work a day in their single lives. But when it comes down to it, you have the multiverse saga, you have the possibility of him coming back as like a life model decoy or a Jarvis, if you will, for the Riri Williams Iron Man, like in the comics. But yeah, main 616 Tony is dead. Like, leave him dead. But they could obviously bring back a new version of Iron Man, the superior Iron Man, or I don't know, a Tony Stark who didn't become Iron Man, because again, it's the multiverse. They could do whatever they want or pull from the comics. But they pulled this move with the Russos saying like, there's no one else who could play Victor Von Doom. And then, some people in the crowd were calling out Robert Downey Jr. It's like, oh, it's Robert. And then he comes out, pulls off the hood and the mask, and boom, there you go. It's Robert. Let me put it this way. If they were to announce, okay, let's imagine Robert Downey Jr. wasn't, at this Comic-Con. If the Russos came out and they announced, oh, we have somebody, the perfect person to play Victor Von Doom, I would have never thought RDJ. And this isn't against Robert at all. No, dude's a fantastic actor, but in terms of like, quote unquote fan casting, he would not have been my first choice, because Doctor Doom is up there as not just one of the top Marvel characters, but one of the top comic book characters of all time. If you want to get specific, villains anyway, he's easily top 3. Obviously most people would go Thanos, for the Infinity Gauntlet and whatnot. And that's even prior to the Marvel Cinematic Universe's depiction of Thanos, because Thanos was that dude. Doctor Doom was up there. Some people would put the likes of, let's say, Galactus. But yeah, Doctor Doom is easily a fan favorite. So it is kind of weird, though, because it's difficult to see where this is going to go. I mean, this seems to be a variant of either Tony Stark or Victor Von Doom. Now, they say it's Victor Von Doom. That's who he's playing. But it's just one of those things where, given we have the multiverse now, I mean, Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine is not the same Wolverine from the X-Men films. He is a variant. So what's going on here? Now, several comic book channels like Comics Explained and a couple others have done, a video here and there over the past 24, 36 hours, going over, one or two stories where Tony Stark became Doctor Doom or Doctor Doom became Iron Man, which is, again, comic accurate. I think the one comic I do remember watching a video on yesterday was about how in a different universe or Earth, rather than Reed Richards being Doctor Doom's or Victor's roommate in college, it was actually Tony Stark. And Victor tricked Tony into helping him fix up a machine, which would help with what was it, like telekinesis or telepathic powers, for people to develop that. And he actually tricked Tony, and it was a a mind swapping machine. If you're a Dragon Ball Super fan, essentially Victor pulled a Zamasu by using the Super Dragon Balls to switch bodies with Goku, or in this case, he used the machine to swap his mind with Tony. So Tony was in Victor's body, and Victor was in Tony's body, mainly because, Tony Stark, he comes from a wealthy family, he has all these resources, and I can use these resources to my benefit. And then from there, the story goes on, and Tony, as Victor, makes a Doctor Doom Iron Man suit. That's the fastest way to put it. Now, this could have been the situation here where you have RDJ, who is known as Tony Stark, but he's announced as playing Victor Von Doom. This could be the storyline to go down. I don't know. There are different variations of it. I think, what is it called? God Emperor Doom. That one variation of Doctor Doom has the powers of like the Beyonder, and he, kills Thanos with ease, like rips his spine out or skeleton. And I'm thinking that would be pretty wild if they did something like that, because think about it, in the main 616 Earth, you have Tony Stark, who died taking down a variation of Thanos from a different point in time, but he took him down with him. He died doing it. So wouldn't it be something if this quote unquote Tony Stark, or Victor in Tony's body, is so badass that he rips the skeleton out of the guy who, was indirectly responsible for his death in the main universe? That would be pretty wild. But more to the point of long-term effects, I don't know what this is. Now, again, referencing my earlier video about Robert coming back to the MCU, it's obviously a Marvel play because they're really desperate right now, to try to get things right financially. I mean, obviously it cost a crap ton of money for RDJ to be brought back. I have no doubt in my mind what he made from Endgame is pennies to what the MCU or Disney's paying him now, considering that, again, the MCU needs him way more than, he needs them. He's an Oscar winner now. And I just feel like if you're putting him at the forefront of an Avengers movie, that's got to be a huge payday. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, so will he die in this movie or Secret Wars? Like, is this going to be connected to the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps film? What universe is he from? But I'm not really focusing on that particular element of it, but more so like Robert is going to cost a lot of money, especially if Doomsday, brings in a ton of money, which no doubt it will, because regardless of those who are having mixed feelings about Robert coming back, they're going to watch the film to see how it turns out. And I think one of the biggest questions people have is like, is Tom Holland Spider-Man going to, go against this version of Doctor Doom and see Tony's face and like freak out? Like, what's going to happen? I feel like that particular moment is what fans want more than anything. And I feel like that's the moment that's going to be the money shot. People are like, okay, we got to have Tom Holland, go against this dude. Because remember, in 616, nobody remembers that Peter is Spider-Man. So I guess you could say if Tony was still alive in that Earth, then Doctor Strange's spell would have made it where Tony wouldn't even recognize him. So imagine the hurt on his face when he's like, Mr. Stark? Who the hell is Mr. Stark? Bah! And then he hits him. That would be pretty wild. But I don't know. I just feel like in the short term, this is going to bring in a lot of money. But in the long term, this would probably hurt them more than help. I think that it would have been better if they picked someone less expensive than Robert to portray Victor Von Doom. It's just like Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards. I'm like, dude is talented, but he's extremely busy, and no doubt he's extremely expensive. Couldn't you find someone who's talented, has the look of Mr. Fantastic or Reed Richards, and has a more available, flexible schedule, pun intended, than Pedro to save money? It just seems like a Hail Mary attempt at this point to clean up the mess left behind the Kang, Jonathan Majors situation, Chadwick Boseman's passing, and just trying to do whatever they can to bring fans back. I mean, but then again, as a MCU fan, who's not a hater, but has grown tired of the same old thing where they've regurgitated so many storylines, assassinated characters, I haven't hated everything over the past 3 or 4 years. There have been good things I've enjoyed. They're not perfect, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. No Way Home. I watched it twice. I watched it in theaters and I watched it when it came out on Blu-ray and whatnot. But as a film, I only watched it twice, but ever since then, I've watched clips. It's kind of like when people say, "Oh, I saw this movie a bunch of times," but did you watch it a bunch of times, or did you watch it like once or twice and go back and watch, a few clips on YouTube? But No Way Home is like, story wise, I hated how they did Peter. Like, for him to ignore Doctor Strange's warnings about messing with different universal timelines with the villains, and Aunt May guilt tripped him into helping out people, which was stupid. And then him wanting to make the spell in the first place, but then Doctor Strange was stupid too. But yeah, I've liked several things. X-Men 97, a different Marvel project. That was so good. I watched it week to week. Heck, it's almost August, and I still find myself rewatching episodes. Like, heck, I rewatched episodes 7 through 9 over this past weekend just because I wanted to, rewatch some of those shows. They were that good. But I think that when you look at a bunch of the Disney Plus series and a lot of the movies that have flopped, you had Guardians 3, which was a good film to close out that trilogy. And the MCU isn't completely dead, but it does seem like it's gasping, for air, trying to, struggling to hold its head above water. But with Robert coming back, people are upset because it's like, well, we wanted a fresh face, someone who could definitely play the role for some time. And a lot of people are like, well, that Deadpool joke in the new movie with Hugh Jackman is like, oh, Disney's going to have him playing this role until he's 90 years old. And it's quite possible. But it's just one of those things where I get it. Disney is desperate right now. Not necessarily as desperate as the DC universe, because some people are like, why are people complaining about Robert coming back as Doctor Doom, where you probably have Jason Momoa, who was Aquaman, coming back as Lobo? That's a interesting comparison. I can see why people might make the comparison, but it doesn't really make sense because, yes, he nailed that role as Aquaman, but DC is doing a full-on freaking reboot. The MCU was just using Multiverse to pick and choose what actors they want to bring back for what roles, whether it be their main character roles from 616 or, a particular 616 actor who portrayed Johnny Storm in an earlier Fantastic Four film in the Deadpool movie. There's that. But it's just one of those things where I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm not going to sit up here like, yo, this is insane. I'm excited. I'm more like, I'm intrigued. I'm going to let them cook. I don't think this is the best move for the long term because it just shows that they have such a lack of faith, and rightfully so, in all of the various characters they've introduced over the past 3 to 4 years. And rather than bring in some new actors, you bring back some of your older ones. And I think Robert can pull it off. I think he's talented enough to portray a Victor Von Doom type, but it's going to be very difficult to watch him and not immediately think of Tony Stark. But that's just me. I hope these films do well. The freaking Russo brothers are back, similar to Robert. Once they made their exit, they said they were done, but I have faith that it's going to be good, because if Disney felt like, okay, we got to bring back the big dogs, they got to do what they got to do. So I'm not sitting up here hoping it's going to fail. And it's like, oh, Disney hasn't learned their lesson. I think Disney is doing what they feel they need to do. I'm going to watch these films, and I will buy them when they get released on Blu-ray and whatnot. So, and not to mention, I feel like this is definitely going to increase sales. And, Marvel Legends, I think that series is still running. I still buy stuff. Like if I'm in Walmart, if I'm on GameStop website or Best Buy, and I see like they have particular figures on sale, if I have the money, I buy a few things. Heck, in my closet in my office here at the house, I have a bunch of helmets from, the Marvel series, like Black Panther. I got like 3 of the Magneto helmets from X-Men 97 because they were marked down on Amazon a few months ago. And I got a War Machine, Ant-Man helmet, Star-Lord helmet, and a bunch of the different things like the Infinity Gauntlets. Yeah, I got gauntlets, Stormbreaker, and whatnot in the storage building outside. So yeah, I could definitely see them selling a lot of Doctor Doom helmets, Doctor Doom figures, and it has RDJ's, face on it. So it's definitely going to bring in a lot of money. Also, that's the thing, he is Doctor Doom. So how often will we see Robert's face versus the Doom mask on his face? I mean, is it going to be an Iron Man situation where most of the time we're going to see, Tony's face, and then when he puts on the mask or the helmet, it's like, oh, okay. It's not that much of the movie, but we still know it's Robert in there. So I hope this stuff succeeds, but like I said, I really wish they would have picked, new faces, new meat, just to portray these characters. Because if Doctor Doom is going to be like Kang in the sense that he's short lived, I would hate to see it. But we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this is a cash grab to get people in seats and invested in Marvel again? I mean, if nothing else, especially in the world of and I'm not trying to get political here, but in the the world we live in today with the economy talks, the politics, the election coming up, I feel like this was a brief reprieve to go like, okay, you know what, the world kind of sucks right now, but at least something's coming in the next couple of years. What is it, 2026? I forgot the year this is supposed to come out. I didn't really pay attention. I just know it's Doomsday and not Infinity War, Secret Wars. So let's see what's going down. Let's talk about it. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.